I think there's many reasons why people start to develop atheistic views. One of those, I think, one at the top of the list is probably the church abuse, and I'm talking about the spiritual, the emotional, uh, physical, and sexual kinds. I mean, we've all experienced it in one way or another if we've spent any amount of time with a congregation or in a church. I mean, it's basically standard issue. Looking back, that's kind of a mild example, but I remember being ridiculed and teased in Sunday school right in front of the teachers. I mean, and it was ongoing, and it got so intense that I eventually ran out of the church, and they had to put on an APB out on me and found me in the back of my grandpa's car, huddled up and sleeping. I just begged him never to take me back. Another time, I remember riding the big blue school bus to church, and I was kind of a hyper kid. And one day, the attendant got frustrated and slapped my face, and um, you know, her having a higher power sure didn't help her with her patience. I mean, for gosh sake, she was on her way home from taking us home from church, so there had to be a lesson that day, and it was fresh in her mind, and I'm sure it didn't reach slapping the kids across the face. But anyway, and then there's the outright lies, the most popular being the word is truth. Um, if you ever press, then it becomes a matter of faith, and then if you never press, then it just remains the absolute truth. And then there's the guilt associated with questioning doctrine and the anger and tears that erupt from your elders, be they family or not, whenever you express any sort of doubt. I mean, for God's sake, you're uh, playing with your own salvation and tempting the devil, and your family just can't rest knowing that you're hell-bound and facing eternal damnation. And then, of course, there's the hypocrisy. I mean, you hear all the time of religious leaders doing one thing or another, becoming in trouble with the law. The sexual abuse again. That was one. But even on a smaller scale, you can see like your guardians, your mentors, your parents, and they're doing things that are being preached against, and you know, so why do we keep going to church if we're going to keep on violating all the rules that they establish? And another reason, science is another reason why people start to develop atheistic views. But in my opinion, I think the number one reason is that we were simply born atheists. We didn't come pre-programmed or with any preconceived notions. We just our minds were blank. We were a blank slate, and the other reason is we didn't have domineering mentors that would feed us doctrine all the time. And religious dogma was not the norm, and so the burden of proof basically took the reins of our lives or my life. Without that kind of input, we as babies, especially with the current development of the human brain, meaning we are no longer primitive in our thought, we'd have no reason to construct a theory of God or a God idea. Unless, of course, those in power found it useful for the masses to have a belief in God. But then I can't help it but think that if that we wouldn't have those powerful few if religion didn't exist in the first place. I think it's important to state that the reason I don't fear or hate uh, people of Islam is because I understand that even like non-Muslims, you become trapped in that culture. I mean, as a Christian, if you don't uh, follow Christ, then you could you know be excommunicated or separated from the group, and life's world's a big scary place, and we don't want to find ourselves alone. But and if you're Muslim, if you question Allah or Muhammad, I mean, it could mean you die. I mean, as a result, you have thousands, even millions of people who have created these pseudo beliefs as a sort of safety mechanism. And you only have to see one hole being dug in the middle of a street and then a woman stoned to death and then covered up right there on the spot as a daily reminder to realize how fucked your situation is. And so, I wonder, I was wondering today, what is it about, what makes it so hard to dismiss religion? And I think one of the big answers is um, your dead loved ones. It's a lot easier on the heart to think that your grandma or your child or your mom or your favorite pet is waiting in some sort of heaven for you. But you don't need a religion to feel like something like that could be true. Honestly, all you need is the first law of thermodynamics um, to find that sort of peace. And that first law of thermodynamics basically states that energy only transforms or changes form. It can't be created or destroyed. So, with that idea, I mean, I see a picture of my mother, and then it sparks a memory, and then that memory, or sparks a thought, and then that thought expands into a memory, and then that memory evolves into an emotion, and lo and behold, I can feel my mother's presence again. And to me, that's just as beautiful as any golden streets or pearly gates or angels flying in. I mean, I don't need that. Why would you need that? You're already in a eternal bliss if you make it to heaven, right? So, you know, so simply said, I'm happy and content with my atheism, and like I said, I was born this way, and everybody else has got some sort of constructed idea. I mean, even as a child, I would go to vacation Bible school, and I would hear the stories, and I got it. I mean, they were ridiculous, and they were just morals, and I'm sure other kids got that. But at some point, you were not able or allowed to question it, and or even ask ask good questions. I mean, that's just. I mean, you just got all these answers, and you kind of listen. Like that still doesn't make sense, but you know, that's whatever. I think the world would be a better place if we didn't have that organized religion. I mean, spirituality, you can believe, what it is you believe, but don't go spreading it as truth if it's just a belief. So, atheism. I was born this way.